All right, so to show you how ridiculous this has become, here's an example. This is from CNN, okay, and this is the year 2020. A University of Southern California professor is under fire for using a Chinese expression students allege sounds like an English slur, okay? So there's a Chinese word that sounds like a racial slur, an insult in English. These two words actually do not sound the same. Okay, you know what the word is, right? 那个桌子,那个电脑, okay? It's not the same as the English word, but it sounds a bit similar. So what happened was some black students, African American students, who were not in his class, okay, wrote a letter of complaint. And honestly, if you read it, it sounds like a joke. It sounds like a prank. All right, so let's read it together. Okay, so this is Professor Greg Patton, and he's just teaching communication Chinese. He's just teaching Chinese to his students on how to communicate in China when you do business, okay? And he says, look, 那个, it's just a filler. It doesn't really mean anything. And he says it a few times. But there's no bad intention in what he's saying, right? I mean, he's just pointing out a fact. So what these students write is, this phrase, clearly and precisely before instruction, is always identified as a phonetic homonym and a racial derogatory term and should be carefully used, especially in the context of speaking Chinese within the social context of the United States. Okay? So this is a ridiculous idea. And honestly, it sounds like a joke, okay? It just sounds like these students are playing a joke. And the administration just ignore this, right? Guess what happens? The dean, okay, the head of the business school, announced that a different professor would take over teaching Patton's class. He fired Patton. And then he said, Professor Patton repeated several times a Chinese word that sounds very similar to a vile racial slur in English. Understandably, this caused great pain and upset among students, and for that I am deeply sorry. It is simply unacceptable for faculty to use words in class that can marginalize, hurt, and harm the psychological safety of our students. We must and we will do better. Okay? He's being retarded. It's a joke, it's a prank, and he's taking it very seriously. Why? Because he's trying to protect his job. He's trying to look good. He's trying to explain why I'm the leader because I protect everyone. Okay? So then again, why is this happening? Well, again, the idea of bureaucracy. So this is the University of California, San Diego. This is student enrollment, okay? So you can see a slight increase in student enrollment. But look at this. Senior management, deans, administrators, managers, boom, okay? Boom. This is called rent-seeking behavior. This is people in power taking advantage of their power to give jobs to their friends who do nothing every day. And because of that, they're always looking to cause problems for everyone else, especially professors who do real work. Okay? So let's just look at universities. As you can see, the blue is teaching. So what's really interesting is that the investment in teaching has gone down. Okay? So the investment in teaching has gone down, the blue, okay? But look at this. The red is administration. So over the past, from 1980 to today, over the past 40 years, universities have put less money into both administration as well as maintenance, but have put more money into administration, into bureaucracy. Okay, this is where your money is going, guys. All right, so this is Illinois. You see a massive surge in managers, but at the same time, student enrollment is going down. It went down 3%. All right, so this is a paper written about the Swedish education system, the higher education system, okay? It's no different anywhere else. All right, so the argument is that bureaucracy is ballooning in Swedish higher education. So let's look at some interesting statistics. All right, so what's happening is that this chart tells you that teachers are teaching more and more students, okay? Teachers are teaching more and more students, but administrators are managing less and less students. And the reason why is teachers are fewer and fewer, but managers are more and more. That makes no sense. Okay? So you can see that teachers and researchers, it's pretty flat. Okay? It hasn't really expanded that much. But secretaries, people who do real work, it's going down. But managers are going up. Okay? So if the university is facing problems, the first thing you should cut are the people who do no work, right? But it's the opposite. People who do no work, the managers, keep their jobs. And in fact, they pay themselves more. And the professors and the maintenance and the secretaries lose their jobs to cut costs. Okay? This is how much they're paid. As you can see, over the same time period, secretaries are getting paid less and less. Teachers are getting paid less and less. But look at this. Managers are getting paid more and more. These are the different departments, okay, of a university. So as you can see, okay, the jobs, the departments that do real work, IT, HR, they're going down, but management is going up. All right, so the people who do absolutely no work, their jobs keep on going up, and they get paid more and more. And as I said, the problem with bureaucracy is not only do managers do nothing every day, but they expect others to do more work. Okay? So professors, researchers, teachers, they're doing more work because the managers are giving them more paperwork to do. Okay? Like evaluations and all that. So professors spend now almost 20% of their workday on paperwork given to them by managers. And this paperwork is not necessary. It's just given to them to justify the jobs of the managers, okay? This is America. We go back to America. And as you can see, this is a university called Gallaudet. And as you can see, over a 20-year period, the blue are the salaries of professors. And it's pretty stable, okay? You went from 72 to 86, not a huge increase. But look, for managers, okay, the president, it doubled from 141 to 280. It doubled. Right now, the salaries are over 3 times as much as faculty. This is Connecticut. At Yale, the president makes $2 million a year. At Wesleyan, he makes $3 million a year. Okay. This is a private university called Stratford University. And it went bankrupt. Right now, more and more universities are going bankrupt because obviously you have too many managers and all they do is get huge paychecks for doing nothing. Eventually, you're going to go bankrupt, right? So, yeah?
Sorry to interrupt, but the school board is not stupid. So, I mean, this is a fact. And so why don't they just change anything?
That's a great question, okay? The reason why is they're all friends. The school board, the president, the vice president, they're all friends. And that's why they can do this. Because they control all the power. They're all friends. And it's in their best interest to steal together, right? Because if you steal by yourself, then you might get caught. But if you steal together, then you're untouchable, okay? So this is exactly what happens at Stratford University. The university goes bankrupt, and because the president and the vice president are stealing from the university, stealing because they are not only collecting huge paychecks, but they're also expensing everything to the university. So for example, they buy a car or they have a gym membership, they charge the university. And if the university can't pay for it, what they do is they lend money to the university. Okay? All right? So Schultz is the president. He lists himself and his wife as the biggest creditors, claiming that the university owes the couple $2.5 million for 8 promissory notes. Okay? So the university could not pay their cars or their house mortgages, and the Schultz are like, don't worry about it. We'll lend you the money. And then when the university went bankrupt, it was like, okay, now you have to pay me back. All right? So again, how were they able to do this? Because the filings also shed light on payments to university insiders in its final year of operation. The college paid out of over 30,000 in stipend to 7 trustees. So the people at the top were getting paid off, even as the university was going bankrupt. Though the filing doesn't differentiate which expenses were Richard's and which were Mary Ann's, the filings for 2020 alone showed over 18,000 in lease and insurance payments for the Schultz cars, okay? So they had cars and they were making the university pay for these cars. Over 4.7 million in loan payments and collateral returned to Eagle Bank on behalf of the Schultz, okay? So they're also making the university pay for their houses as well. And then you're like, how can they do this? Well, the answer is because in America, the rich always wins in the court system. So whoever is able to hire the best lawyers always wins out. And they have a lot of money. The university is bankrupt. They don't have a lot of money. So they will win out. Okay? So I point this out because this is what's going to happen to many universities over the next 5-10 years in America. Because you have a system where you have the managers at the top, they are all best friends, they're all stealing from the university together. And eventually the university will bankrupt. So that's America. Okay, but it's not just the universities, it's every bureaucracy, it's every organization is happening like this. So you look at Canada. In Canada, you can see a rise of 9% in the population, but look at the government, okay? It's went up by 26%. In America, you can see a sharp decline in manufacturing jobs starting in about the 1980s because these jobs are being offshored to China. But at the same time, you see this steady increase in government jobs. Okay? So people in America are doing less real work, and more people are becoming bureaucrats. Okay. So as you can see, the growth in the government is usually in management. Okay? People who will work? No, it's pretty flat. But look at the managers, look at the administrators, okay? They're going way up, and it's a pretty steady increase. All right, so how do we know the government doesn't really do anything? Okay, so there's a study that shows us that it's looking at rules, okay? So rules help society be more efficient. So as you can see, the number of rules have gone down actually. The number of significant rules that actually impact you day to day have gone way down. But, this is interesting, the paperwork has gone up. Okay? So this tells us the managers, the administrators in the federal government of the United States, they don't do anything but produce paperwork that's meaningless. That has actually no impact on the lives of ordinary people. Okay? Okay, let's look at the military. So everyone believes that America has the world's greatest military because it spends the most on the military and has all these high-tech weapons, right? The problem is the bureaucracy in the military right now. So you see what's happening is an increase in management because the ratio of manager, officer to soldier is going down. Okay, so you have more officers and less soldiers. That's a problem when you're fighting a war. All right, so in the Civil War, and this is the 1860s, you had one officer for every 14 soldiers. Now it's 1 to 4. Okay? The biggest problem is the increase in generals. Okay, so you can see 3- and 4-star generals have increased the most. In World War II, America had about 12 million soldiers. They had 7 generals who were 4-star. Today, America has about 1.2 million soldiers. They have 40 4-star generals. And this is a huge problem. Why? Because if you're a 4-star general, you have a lot of privileges beyond your salary. So this is from Raymond Dubas, who works in the Pentagon, and he writes about the perks of a 4-star general. A 4-star has an airplane. A 3-star often doesn't. Can a 3-star get an airplane when he needs it? Not always. Okay? So a 4-star general always has his own personal airplane. What is his personal airplane? It's called a G5. This is what a G5 is, guys. This is what a G5 is. This is his own personal plane. It's always there for him. If he doesn't want to fly, it's waiting on the tarmac for him, okay? You can see how luxurious it is. This costs $50 to $60 million per plane. Every 4-star general has this plane. At the same time, guys, what's happening to soldiers? The soldiers don't have enough to eat. There's 1.2 million veterans on food stamps. Okay, that's 8% of all veterans in America. The people who actually fight, the people who actually make sacrifices for their country, don't have enough to eat, while the generals fly around in like these really nice planes. That's the state of the American military. All right, so it's not just the military, it's every single US government department, okay? All the administrator, you see massive increase in administration. All right, so people who do real work, okay, is in the red. People who do absolutely no work is in the blue, okay? So people who do science, math, engineering, 621. People who do administration, 1782. So in every federal bureaucracy, you have bloat. You have managers who do nothing, and you have very few people who do the actual real work. It's true for every single federal organization in America. So this just shows you the ratio of managers and supervisors to other employees. What's really funny about bureaucracy is evaluation is very important. Who does the evaluation? Managers do the evaluation. So at the end of the year, they do performance review, and what happens is they evaluate themselves and their friends and say, "You really did a great job." And they then look at other people who do the real work and says, "You guys could do better, okay?" So outstanding is the highest performance review for the government, right? 64% got outstanding, okay? Managers who do nothing every day. 47% got outstanding for every other job. All right? So it's a rigged game. Same thing with hospitals. The brown is the growth in doctors. You can see it's pretty steady. But look at the administrators. Okay? The yellow are the administrators. It's blowing up, okay? And so it forces healthcare costs to go up. The reason why healthcare is so unaffordable in the United States is not because it has the best healthcare in the world. It doesn't. It's expensive because it's got so many administrators who do nothing every day. All right? So what do these managers do? Well, the managers always think of new ways to screw everyone else. Okay, so these are health insurance companies, and this is their denial rates. Okay, so you work hard for 40 years, you pay your health insurance. Okay, and then maybe you get cancer, and then you go to the doctor charges you like $1 million, and you're like, you don't have $1 million, but you have insurance, so you go to an insurance company. It's like, hey, I paid 40 years of insurance fees. Can you help me out? And look, the insurance company, United Healthcare, about a third, 32% of all claims are denied. And they do this as practice because if you fight them, they'll say, okay, you know what, we'll agree to pay you back, okay? But if you don't fight them, then they're like, great. Okay? So it's extremely unethical. And so that's what managers do every day. Think of new ways to screw over their patients and doctors.